As I mentioned earlier, it's great to be in New Hampshire. It truly is. I mean, people forget all the things New Hampshire did. Here, and whenever I'm in Portsmouth, right, Jack, and Sue, I can't help but talk about the history of Portsmouth a little bit and why it's important before we introduce the next guest. I was born in Portsmouth. I was raised in Portsmouth. My father was in the military. He bought a home here in the 50s, and then we traveled around the world, but we always knew we were coming back here. When he went and served in Korea and 2 tours in Vietnam, we came back here. This is where we came. And so we knew it was going to be our home. And the reason why is because, we hear the stories about New Hampshire of the patriots from Durham and Barrington and Rochester gathering together one December night and getting in their boats after they had a few glasses of ale and going down to a fort. And fortunately for them, the British had a few more glasses of ale. So, and without firing a shot, although there is some debate whether a shot was fired, one shot was fired. So they expelled those British soldiers and took those arms and they stored them. They hid them like squirrels because they knew they were going to need them. And then they did need them. The Battle of Bunker Hill had 1,000 New Hampshire citizens there. It was the largest contingent of any of the military at Bunker Hill.
Of course.
John Stark, who we all know for the Battle of Bennington, who actually became a hero first at the Battle of Bunker Hill. He guarded the left flank, he kept it safe, and although we had to retreat eventually, it was a much better battle because he was there. He didn't want to be a leader, didn't ask to be a leader, but that's typical of New Hampshire. Eventually what happens is leaders rise up, and they know when they have to speak, and they know when they have to lead. They know that there's a time to campaign, and there's a time to govern. And as I mentioned, we don't have our founding fathers right now, but we darn sure have our defending mothers and our defending fathers. And we have someone amongst us, and I'm not a GOP official, so I can be a little bit more biased with this statement. And we want to be fair, but I am going to be absolutely honest about how I feel about this next person. There comes a time when the right person is in the right place for the right situation, period. And if we miss that opportunity, everything falls apart. If John Stark is not on the left flank at the Battle of Bunker Hill, it becomes a disaster of unparalleled results. The reality is this: history is not made by the victors. History is made by the heroes. Plain and simple. Those heroes never ask. Those heroes never resist. But those heroes come forth when we need them. This next individual is probably the most humble person that will ever seek the job he is seeking. He is common sense. He is Yankee, New Hampshire. He is even killed. And he deserves and has earned to be the next Speaker of the House of New Hampshire. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause for Bill O'Brien.
Thank you. You know, we've had a great victory that's been handed to us this past November 2nd. We won 3/4 of the New Hampshire House, and we're very grateful. In my neck of the woods, the towns and city of Hillsborough, we won 63 out of 64 seats. And it's a privilege that the people of New Hampshire have given us to represent them. But although us representatives would like to think that it's us and our efforts and our going to the doors that drive this kind of victory, we know it isn't. We know it's the top of the ticket that did it. And we had a top of the ticket this year, both in the primaries and in the general election, that were superb. Jack Kimball, John Stevens, they did a superb job of defining the issues. And John took those issues to the point that we have this kind of majority, and we're grateful for it, John. After the primary, Jack Kimball did something that is going to be very important for us tomorrow. We do have a speaker's race tomorrow. There will be a prevailing side. There will be those who didn't prevail. In his graciousness, in his vision, Jack Kimball has shown us in the Republican caucus in the House how to draw together. We will use you as an example. You will be our example, Jack, on how we will draw together as a 298-member majority, and we will give New Hampshire what you defined, which is an affordable government, which is jobs, and which is liberty. That will be our beacon when we're in there. So we thank you, John. We look forward to you, as all of you folks, all the activists, keeping us true to the rhetoric that we ran on, because that's what we need to do. We have to go to the people and give them this affordable government, give them lower taxes, lower spending, give them the liberty that John so eloquently talked about. Every time I would go out on the campaign trail, I knew something was happening in the beginning when people would come to me and say, have you ever met that Jack Kimball? You know, you think the way he thinks? And I was tempted, and maybe I even succumbed at times before I met Jack, to say, oh yes, he's a good friend of mine. But it didn't take that, Jack. It took you to have the vision, and we appreciate it. Everyone in the Republican caucus knows why we're there, and it's because of you two gentlemen. Thank you.